My name is Darren Holloway. I'm 38 years old, live just outside Atlanta, and I used to believe I had the perfect life, the kind you protect, preserve, and prioritize over everything else. I wasn't flashy, wasn't reckless. I was the type of man who made sure the fridge had milk, the car had gas, and my wife never had to touch a bill. Her name is Eliza. She used to laugh like nothing could touch her. I fell for that sound before I ever knew her middle name. We met when we were 22. She was all fire and freedom, and I was just a guy who thought loving her hard enough would be enough. We built a quiet life, a good life, a routine life. At least I thought we did. It started small, the kind of small that makes you feel crazy for even noticing. Her phone face down more often. That stupid, hollow laugh at dinner when I try to tell a story. The way she started answering texts in the hallway instead of the living room. But I chalked it up to stress. She had just taken on a new project at work, a cross-department initiative involving late nights, long meetings, and a man named Jordan. She said his name like it meant nothing. I should have listened harder. One Friday night, she came home wearing perfume. Not the one I bought her last Christmas. This one was new, expensive. I asked if she had gone out for drinks after work. She paused, just long enough for a lie to slip in before her smile did. No, just felt like dressing up, she said, hanging her coat like it was just another day. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But that was the moment I knew I was watching the beginning of something I didn't know how to stop. 2 weeks later, I was on my tablet trying to order groceries. That's when the email popped up. Eliza never logged out of her accounts. She thought it was harmless, trustworthy, routine. Subject line: dinner for two, 7:30 p.m. confirmation. From Trattoria Alvino. To eliza.holloway@gmail.com. I stared at it. The restaurant wasn't one we'd ever been to together. Not even in passing. I opened it. Dear Mrs. Holloway, your reservation for two has been confirmed for Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. Table by the window, as requested. See you soon. She never mentioned a dinner on Thursday. And Eliza hated Italian food. I clicked details. 2 guests. Special note: please seat us away from high-traffic areas. Discretion appreciated. That line sat in my chest like a stone. I didn't yell. I didn't confront her. I just watched. I watched her every day until Thursday. She didn't know I knew. Thursday came. She dressed like she was going to meet royalty. Cream-colored blouse, navy skirt, heels I hadn't seen in months. Hair curled, lipstick red. She spritzed that perfume again. The expensive one. I'm meeting a friend from college, she said, grabbing her purse. We're having a little catch-up dinner. Tell her I said hi, I said, smiling. She paused, then nodded. Will do. She didn't even look guilty. That's what got me. Not the lie. The ease of it. She walked out at exactly 6:03 p.m. I waited 5 minutes, then picked up my phone. I dialed a number I'd found 2 nights ago. It belonged to Anna, Jordan's wife. Yes, Jordan, the man my wife didn't realize I'd been watching for weeks. The man whose name she said once, months ago, like he was just another co-worker. The same man she was having dinner with tonight. Anna picked up on the 3rd ring. Hello. Her voice was soft, unsure. Anna? My name is Darren Holloway. I think our spouses are having dinner together tonight. Silence. Then I know. I sat down slowly. You know, I've known for about 2 weeks, she said. I just didn't know what to do about it. Well, I said, my voice colder than I meant it to be. How do you feel about Italian? We met at the restaurant 20 minutes before the reservation. She was calm. Too calm. She had that look in her eyes, like she'd already cried everything out, and now she was just empty. We didn't talk much at first. When Eliza and Jordan walked in, they didn't see us. We were seated 2 tables over, half hidden behind a decorative pillar. The waiter brought them water. They clinked glasses. He reached across the table and touched her hand. I didn't flinch. Anna's hand trembled slightly on her wine glass. We watched them laugh. We watched them flirt. We watched them act like the lives they were destroying didn't even exist. Then I whispered to Anna, "You still want to go through with this?" She looked at me. Her eyes were steel now. Yes. All right then. I stood up and stepped into the aisle, just enough for Eliza to catch me in her peripheral vision. She turned slowly. And that's when the glass slipped from her hand. She dropped her fork. That's the first sound I remember. Not the gasp, not the stutter of her voice, not even Jordan's face draining of color like someone had pulled a plug. Just the soft, metallic clatter of her fork bouncing off her plate and hitting the hardwood floor. Eliza looked at me like I had just stepped out of her nightmares. Jordan turned too slow, like maybe if he didn't move fast enough, I wouldn't be real. I was very real, and so was Anna. She stood next to me, holding her purse tightly, one hand gripping the zipper like it was the only thing anchoring her to the floor. Her breath was steady. Her expression wasn't rage. It was something quieter, heavier. Eliza opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. Darren, what? What are you doing here? I smiled. Funny. I was about to ask you the same thing. Jordan looked like he wanted to evaporate. He shifted in his seat, glancing at the door like he could outrun what was coming. Anna stepped forward. I wouldn't, she said calmly, without even looking at him. You run. You'll just make this uglier. She reached into her purse and pulled out a plain manila envelope. Jordan blanched. Eliza's eyes darted between the envelope and me, panic rising fast. Anna, what is that? Anna set the envelope down on the edge of their table. Her voice didn't rise, didn't shake. Your last 6 months. Receipts. Text logs. Screenshots. Hotel bookings. Transfers between your shared expense app and that private card you thought he didn't know about. And she glanced at Jordan now. The pictures you sent. You know the ones. Jordan swallowed hard. Eliza turned pale. Anna, this isn't what it looks like, Eliza whispered, trying to keep her voice down. I chuckled. It's exactly what it looks like, I said, stepping back. You should sit with it. The waiter approached, trying to hide his discomfort. Is everything all right here? Anna turned to him. We're just finishing up. Thank you. He nodded and retreated fast. Jordan stood abruptly. We're leaving. Eliza grabbed his arm. Wait, Jordan. But he was already pulling away. Anna didn't move. She just said, without looking back, you forgot your envelope. He paused, turned slightly, and then walked out the door. Eliza stood there for a moment, like she didn't know what world she was in anymore. Then she looked at me. Her voice cracked. Darren, please let's talk. Not here. Can we just? No, I said, cutting her off. You did enough talking behind my back. She looked at Anna now, pleading. This doesn't have to be ugly. Anna smiled. You made it ugly. We're just giving a mirror. Then Anna and I sat back down at our table. Our pasta was still warm. Eliza stood there for a few more seconds, then finally followed Jordan out the door. And just like that, it was quiet. Anna and I didn't say much for a while. The air felt different. Heavier, but not painful. I didn't think I'd be able to do that, she said finally, wiping her mouth gently with a napkin. You did great, I said. Better than I would have. She laughed softly. I used to be so soft. I would have just cried. Begged. You still feel like doing that? She looked at me. No, not anymore. We paid the bill, stepped out into the night air. It was breezy. Cool. I turned to her before she got her car. What are you going to do now? She looked tired, but there was clarity in her eyes. I'm going to call my lawyer tomorrow. Then I'm going to take my kids on a trip. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere clean. I nodded. And you? I exhaled slowly. I'm going to pack what's mine. And I'm going to make sure she walks into a house that feels as empty as she made our marriage. Anna smiled again. A real one this time. She won't see it coming. No, I said. She won't. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at a cheap business hotel off the highway. The kind with key cards that don't always work the first time and vending machines that still sell Coke in cans. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, not thinking about Eliza, but about the man I used to be before I lost myself trying to keep her happy. In the morning, I woke up early. I drove to the bank, closed our joint account, rerouted the automatic payments, and removed her as an authorized user on every card she had access to. Next stop, our lawyer's office. He already knew something was wrong when I called. Is it final? He asked, eyes steady. Yeah, I said. It is. We started the paperwork. I returned to the house that afternoon while she was still at work. Packed up only what I needed. Nothing dramatic. No teatriques. Just removal. Clothes. Laptop. A few framed photos. The ones from before she stopped loving me. A coffee mug my daughter made at summer camp. I left everything else. Not out of mercy, but out of finality. By the time she came home at 6:30, the closet was half empty, my side of the bathroom was cleared, and a single envelope sat on the kitchen island. Inside was a list of what I took and the contact information for my lawyer. No dramatic farewell. Just facts. Just silence. She called me 34 times that night. I didn't answer once. She texted, emailed, DM'd me on every platform she could remember I had. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I didn't. Because hurting her would mean I still cared in the same way. And I didn't. I cared differently now. I cared about myself. But the story wasn't over. Not yet. Because a week later, Anna called. Her voice was different this time. More rushed. I think you need to see this, she said. It's about Eliza and Jordan. They're not done. What do you mean? She hesitated. I think they're planning something. Something desperate. I hadn't heard Eliza's voice since that night at the restaurant. Not Liv, anyway. Just her desperate voicemails. Some crying, some furious. All of them laced with regret that came far too late. Then Anna called. And with that one call, my quiet world started rumbling again. They're trying to turn this on you, she said. Her voice wasn't scared. She wasn't the type to panic, but it was tense. Controlled. The kind of voice people use when they're one step ahead of fear. What does that mean? I asked, walking out of the coffee shop and toward my truck. Jordan's claiming you threatened him, that you followed them for weeks. Eliza's backing it up. She's saying she felt unsafe, that she wanted to separate, but you were possessive. My chest tightened. That's a lie. Anna didn't miss a beat. I know it is. But lies told often enough, they take root. I think they're trying to protect themselves by making you the problem. I just wanted you to know before this gets out of hand. Within 2 days, I found out just how fast a false narrative can spread. HR at my job called me in for a wellness check. Someone had left an anonymous tip saying I was emotionally unstable after a recent relationship crisis. The timing wasn't subtle. Then my landlord called. Eliza had reported concerns about shared assets and access to our home, implying I might retaliate. By the third day, I was sitting in my truck, watching the neighborhood I used to call home, wondering how I'd become a character in someone else's version of my life. I wasn't angry yet. I was calculating. I knew Eliza. I knew her tells. She was smart, but messy under pressure. She never cleaned up her digital tracks the way she should have. Always too confident that no one would dig. So I dug. I started with the shared cloud storage we'd set up years ago for budgeting and calendars. She forgot to disable it on her end. Buried deep in a subfolder labeled Old Receipts were PDFs of hotel confirmations, bank transfers between her and Jordan, and a particularly interesting set of emails. Jordan had been applying for a job in Denver, out of state, 2 weeks before the college friend dinner. There were mentions of leaving it all behind, starting fresh, and just need to deal with the Darren situation. I copied everything. Then I found the jackpot. A video clip, 37 seconds long. Jordan and Eliza, sitting in what looked like her office, talking about me. Her voice. He's not going to react. That's the problem. He'll just go silent. I know him. Jordan, if he doesn't react, it's even better. Makes him look like the one hiding something. Eliza, we'll have to frame it. Control the story. Frame it. They weren't just running away from guilt. They were planning to rewrite the entire damn story. I called Anna. Meet me, I said. I've got something you need to see. We met at a public park. Neutral ground. She brought a portable speaker, and I played the video clip through my phone. She didn't even blink. Just stare at the grass for a moment. So they really are that far gone, she whispered. Looks like it. Do you know what you want to do with this? I nodded slowly. I want them to see what it feels like when the story isn't theirs to tell anymore. Over the next week, Anna and I worked quietly. Strategically, we compiled everything, the emails, the screenshots, the video, dates, times, financial transactions, inconsistencies between their claims and the documented truth. Then we sent a single package, digitally encrypted, time-stamped, and lawyer-approved, to both of our attorneys. Anna's lawyer moved swiftly. Jordan was blindsided with a cease and desist. Mine filed an emergency petition with the court, including the video evidence, citing defamation, reputational sabotage, and malicious intent. Eliza's false claims collapsed overnight. She'd built them on a foundation of arrogance. They didn't even see the paper trail coming. The silence afterward was louder than anything yet. No calls, no texts, no cryptic emails or block number voicemails. Just stillness. Until one afternoon, I got a knock at the door. Not police, not lawyers. It was her, Eliza, standing in the doorway of my new apartment like a memory that refused to stay buried. She looked exhausted. Hair undone, eyes red. No makeup, no mask. Can I talk to you? She asked quietly. I didn't answer, just stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like she wasn't sure she deserved to exist in my space anymore. I didn't think it would go like this, she said finally, sitting down on the edge of the couch like it might break under her. Really? I asked, arms crossed. I thought maybe you'd just forgive me. Eventually, the word made something sharp twist in my chest. Forgive. Forgive you, I said softly. You tried to ruin me. Not just leave me. Not just hurt me. You tried to rewrite the truth. You tried to bury me so you wouldn't have to face what you did. She covered her face with her hands. I know. I got scared. When everything started falling apart, I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know how to face it. Then maybe you should have thought about that before burning everything down. Her voice cracked. He left me. Of course he did. He said I was too much trouble, that I made things messy. And now, I have no job, no place, no one. I let the silence stretch. I'm not here to beg, she added, voice breaking. I just wanted to look you in the eye and say I'm sorry. You still the hair. And for a moment, I believed her. But belief doesn't equal trust. Trust was a bridge she set fire to. Goodbye, Eliza, I said finally. She stood, nodded, and walked out the door without another word. It clicked shut behind her like the closing of a chapter. But I knew better. This wasn't the end. It was just the pause before the final reckoning. 32 days. That's how long the quiet lasted. Just enough time for me to start breathing normally again. Just long enough to think the worst was behind me. I was wrong. It came in a plain envelope, dropped off by a courier in a worn blue jacket. The kind of man who doesn't ask questions and doesn't wait for signatures. Mr. Holloway? He asked. I nodded. Delivery. Confirmed. He handed me the envelope, turned, and left before I could even close the door. It wasn't thick. Maybe 3 or 4 sheets of paper inside. I should have known. The most dangerous lies usually come in the simplest packages. I tore it open. Superior Court of Fulton County, Notice of Civil Filing. Case, Holloway versus Holloway. Petitioner, Eliza Holloway. Allegation, emotional distress, coercive control, invasion of privacy. I sat down. Hard. She was suing me. Not for money, not for property, but for damage. According to the filing, I had tracked and manipulated her into a public confrontation. I had strategically sabotaged her personal and professional life through digital coercion and caused her irreparable emotional trauma and humiliation. She called it psychological abuse. She said she feared for her safety. I stared at the page in silence for a full minute, then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so twisted it almost didn't feel real. This wasn't betrayal anymore. This was war. I called my attorney. He'd already seen it. It's garbage, he said immediately. But it's dangerous garbage. If this gains traction in the court of public opinion, or worse, if it hits your employer or professional contacts, it could cause real damage. Can we counter? I asked. We can. We will. But we need to be smart. Clean. Let her burn the rope from her end. We just hold the other side. What about Anna? I asked suddenly. He paused. She'll be dragged in. You both will. I called Anna that night. She answered on the second ring. You got the papers? Yeah. A pause. I'm sorry, she said. Don't be. She's panicking. She's grabbing whatever she can on the way down. Anna was quiet, then said, she showed up at my job last week. What? Claimed I encouraged you to harass her. She made a scene in the parking lot. Security had to escort her out. This was unraveling fast. We need to get ahead of this, I said. I have all the digital evidence. Emails, the video, her message logs. It's all time-stamped. Undeniable. Anna exhaled. Then it's time to show it. My lawyer filed our official response. It included the video clip, Eliza and Jordan plotting to twist the narrative, along with the full timeline of events from both Anna and me, annotated with exact dates, receipts, and screenshots. He called it a preemptive defense stack. The court called it compelling. The hearing was set for 2 weeks later. The day of the hearing, Eliza walked in like a shell of the woman I used to know. Gone was the polish, the confidence. She wore black, like she was in mourning, maybe for her image, maybe for her lies. Her lawyer tried to paint me as a manipulator, a cold, calculating man who used silence as a weapon, who orchestrated a public ambush to shame and isolate a vulnerable woman. He was good, but the truth was better. My lawyer stood and laid it out with precision. Not emotion, not anger, just facts. The dinner reservation email. The mutual decision between Anna and me to confront the affair. The video clip showing Eliza and Jordan planning the narrative. The digital trail of payments and correspondence showing premeditation. And then he did something I didn't expect. He played one of Eliza's voicemails. The one from 2 days after the confrontation. Her voice cracked with desperation. I messed up, Darren. I know I did. I shouldn't have lied. I didn't think you'd actually leave. He paused the playback and turned to the judge. This is not the voice of someone being controlled. This is the voice of someone who's been caught. Eliza didn't lift her eyes once. The judge dismissed the case. With prejudice, meaning she couldn't refile. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated. But instead, I walked out of that courtroom with a strange kind of grief. Not for the marriage. That died a long time ago. But for the version of me who had once believed in her without hesitation. That man didn't exist anymore. Anna met me in the parking lot. She hugged me. Tight. No words. And for a moment, I realized I wasn't alone in this mess. That maybe redemption wasn't just about justice. Maybe it was also about connection. 3 days later, Eliza sent one final message. A short email. No subject line. You won. I don't know who I am anymore. I hope that gives you peace. I didn't reply. Because peace doesn't come from someone else's loss. It comes from walking away before you become something you hate. The voicemail came just after midnight. I almost didn't listen to it. I was lying in bed, half asleep, a baseball game playing low on the TV in the background. I saw the missed call, Margaret Holloway, and stared at the name like it was from another life. Eliza's mother. We hadn't spoken in over a year. Not since her daughter's lies unraveled in front of everyone. But the message she left, it jolted me upright. Darren, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I didn't know who else to call. It's about Eliza. She's gone. She left a letter and just disappeared. Please call me back. My heart froze. Not because I missed her, not because I wanted her back, but because I knew her. I knew how tightly she clung to appearances, to perception, to control. Eliza didn't just disappear. Unless she wanted to be found, or never found at all. I called Margaret the next morning. She answered on the first ring. She left a note, she said, voice shaking, packed a bag, and left sometime Saturday night. I didn't see it until Sunday morning. It was on the kitchen table. What did it say? Just a few lines. Said she didn't recognize herself anymore. That she needed to go somewhere quiet. Alone. Said she was sorry for everything. And that she knew she couldn't undo it. Did she mention anyone? A place? No, nothing. She shut off her phone. Her email's inactive. Darren, Margaret paused, then added, I know you have every reason to hate her, but I'm her mother, and I'm scared. I sighed into the phone. I'll help if I can, I said. Not for her, but for closure. I didn't hire a private investigator. I didn't alert the police right away. I did something simpler. I logged into her old Spotify account. The password hadn't changed. She used to make playlists for every mood. For road trips. For heartbreak. For stress. Sure enough, there was a new playlist. One song on repeat. All I Want by Kodalyn. That's when I knew where she went. There was a small cabin in North Georgia. Her late aunt's place. Remote. Rustic. No Wi-Fi. It was where Eliza used to go when life overwhelmed her before we ever met. I told Margaret. She broke into tears. I didn't ask for gratitude. I just drove. I pulled up to the cabin around dusk. Pine trees towered above the one-story structure. The porch light was off. No smoke from the chimney. I knocked, waited, then tried the knob. It was unlocked. Inside was dim, cold, and quiet. But she was there, sitting at the small wooden table in the corner, staring out the window like she'd been frozen in place. Her eyes turned slowly when she heard my steps. "Darren," she whispered. Her voice was raw, dry, like she hadn't spoken in days. I didn't say anything, just looked around. There were crumpled tissues on the table, a mostly empty bottle of wine, and a notepad, open to a half-finished letter addressed to me. She looked like she hadn't slept. "I wasn't trying to scare anyone," she said finally. "I just couldn't take the weight anymore." Everything collapsed. Everyone walked away. Even me. I sat across from her. Not close. Not far. Just enough to hear her without leaning in. "You lied. You tried to destroy me. You built a version of me you could blame." She nodded. "I know. Why?" She blinked slowly. Her voice came out as a whisper. "Because I thought if I didn't bury you, I'd have to bury myself." I looked down at the letter. "I never wanted to be this person," she continued. "I really did love you. Once. But I got bored. I got restless. And then I hated myself for it. And I blamed you for making me feel safe when what I really wanted was chaos." Her honesty hit harder than any insult ever could. "I was so scared you'd walk away that I tried to beat you to it. Try to frame it so I wouldn't have to feel like the villain." "You were the villain, Eliza," I said quietly. "I know." Silence. And then something unexpected happened. She cried. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent, wet grief. The kind that shakes your shoulders without a sound. I didn't reach out, but I didn't walk away either. We sat in that old cabin for what felt like hours. Just two people surrounded by ghosts of what might have been. The next day, I drove her back to her mother's house. She didn't say much. Before she got out of the car, she turned to me. "I won't try to reach out again. I promise. But thank you for not turning your back. Even after everything." I nodded once. "Take care of yourself." She smiled faintly. "You already did." And then she closed the door. Back home, the air felt different. Cleaner. There were no voicemails. No losots. No lies. Just stillness. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe without checking over my shoulder. A week later, Anna called. She was on her way to Vermont with her kids. A break. A reset. "You okay?" she asked. "I think I am," I said. "For the first time in a long time." "You sound different." "I feel different." She paused. "Sometimes the most painful things don't break us," she said. "They just remove the parts we should have let go of long ago." I smiled. "Safe travels, Anna." It came in a plain white envelope, same as the court summons. No return address. No markings. Just my name, written in tight, blocky letters. I almost didn't open it. Thought maybe it was another legal jab, some last-ditch attempt by Eliza to scratch her name into my life one more time. But something felt different. There was no perfume, no emotional handwriting, just stillness. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded twice. I opened it slowly. No salutation, no sign-off, just a paragraph, one that made the blood drain from my face. "You don't know the whole story. Eliza didn't fall into the affair. She planned it. Jordan was never the point. You were. She and Jordan targeted you. It wasn't just about infidelity. It was about leverage. Your company. Your position. Jordan knew your firm was about to land the Ridgeway contract. He used Eliza to get access to your devices. Your files. The email she left open? It wasn't an accident. It was bait. You were always the target. And now that he's gone, she's still holding something." I reread it twice. 3 times. Then flipped the page over. Nothing. Blank. No signature. Just that. A betrayal I hadn't even considered. One that made all the others look shallow by comparison. Eliza hadn't just lied for love. She'd lied for access. This wasn't about heartbreak. It was about theft. I called my former CTO. His voice was cautious. "Darren? Everything okay? Have there been any irregularities since I left? Around the Ridgeway deal?" A pause. "Actually, yes." "How do you know?" My stomach dropped. Someone inside the Ridgeway board mentioned a leak. They wouldn't say much. Just that our bid was undercut. By less than 0.5%. Enough to make it look real. But it wasn't real. It was calculated. I felt the weight of the letter in my hand again. Who got the bid? He hesitated. A consultancy in Colorado, newly registered. Headed by, he paused again, then said it flatly, Jordan Whitmore. My jaw clenched. Can we prove anything? No idea. But if you're sitting on something, I am, I said. It's time to use it. I forwarded everything to my attorney. The letter, the metadata from the PDFs Eliza left behind, the email threads between her and Jordan. I compiled the digital trail into a single report and handed it over. This time, the battle wasn't about marriage. It was about reputation, about fraud, about ethics. It took 3 weeks to build the case. Another 2 for Ridgway's board to quietly launch an internal review. They didn't want a public scandal, but they also didn't like being manipulated. When the pressure mounted, Jordan vanished, just disappeared. No trace of his consultancy, no new projects, no LinkedIn updates. The website for his firm? Gone. Then I got the call. Mr. Holloway, the voice said. Yes. This is David Kessler from Ridgway. I wanted to let you know we've concluded our inquiry. Based on what you submitted and what we independently uncovered, we voided the Colorado contract. We're revisiting bids. Yours is back on the table. We'd like to reopen negotiations if you're still willing. I didn't smile. I just said, I'm ready. The irony? I didn't even care about the deal anymore. But the truth deserved daylight. And now it had it. A month later, I received another letter. This one was handwritten. Different pen. Different paper. It was from Eliza. I know what you know now. I won't pretend it didn't happen. I won't insult you with another lie. But there are things I still carry. Things I still don't understand about myself. I thought I could use people without consequences. I thought I could manipulate love like a strategy. I see now that I lost the only person who ever truly saw me. And I know I deserve that loss. But I hope, somehow, someday, you find someone who doesn't see you as a tool, or a prize, or a resource. Just as a man. The good man you were. And still are. There was no apology. Just acknowledgement. Sometimes, that's more honest than a sorry wrapped in desperation. Spring came slowly that year. I spent more time outside. Biking. Hiking. I took up cooking again, something I'd abandoned during the decay. I started seeing a therapist, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I'd let myself be hurt for so long. Anna and I stayed in touch. Not romantic, not complicated, just 2 survivors checking in. She sent a photo of her kids in Vermont, smiling in the snow. You look like peace, I texted back. She replied, you helped me get there. And one day, in early May, I stood in the middle of a quiet park near downtown Atlanta, watching the wind push petals off a dogwood tree. I wasn't angry anymore. Wasn't lost. I was me again. Not the man she left. The man who chose to walk away. Who didn't yell. Didn't destroy. Just revealed the truth and let it speak louder than vengeance. Because sometimes redemption isn't a second chance. It's a final one. Not for them, but for you. The end. Final words for narration ending. She gave me lies, sabotage, and shadows. I gave her silence, the truth, and the weight of her own reflection. That's not revenge. That's clarity. And sometimes, clarity is the most powerful reckoning of all.